So now PB comes back as a famous person. He's written 3 books. They're in many languages. He's known all over the world. Ramana has become famous. Now the ashram is crowded with Indians and Westerners coming to see him. It's expanding physically, and PB returns. When he returns, the Maharishi makes the following comments, which confirm the Maharishi's appreciation of PB, which is also recorded in this book, Talks with Ramana. He says to PB, "You are saying the same thing in your books that I say, only you do it in a modern way." And by the way, apparently the Maharishi could read English, even though he wasn't really well spoken in English. So he would read PB's books. Someone who's high in one of the governments of India comes and asks Maharishi, "Is Paul Brunton's secret path useful to Indians also?" And the Maharishi says, "Yes, for all." Then the person says, "The doctrine that the body, senses, etc. are not I is common among us. But how do I practice it? How do I realize it?" And the Maharishi says, "By the threefold method in Brunton's books." So now Maharishi is telling people to read PB. Mm-hmm. And then someone asks him a question, and he says, "Haven't you read PB's Secret Path? Read it 1,000 times. PB has expressed me correctly. Then why don't you practice it?" And once again, we'll read from Ganeshan, Ramana's great nephew, who also said, "The Maharishi was determined to give Paul Brunton everything, because the Maharishi's teaching had to be spread all over the world." And Ganeshan says somewhere else, Maharishi wasn't proselytizing. He wasn't interested in being famous. He wasn't interested in making himself known. He would have just sat there in peace and no one would have known who he was, except that PB came along.
And I also wanted to share with you that we spent a few minutes with Ganeshan. He received us in his ashram, in his house, and he directly appreciated a lot what PB did for Ramana, and he gave to us his books for the Paul Brunton Foundation. He thanks the Paul Brunton Foundation also. It was so beautiful, the meeting directly with him, because we felt like, to go there to see Ganeshan as PB did in the past. It was really a special moment for us that we want to share with you.
Mm-hmm. And it was really touching how much respect and admiration and appreciation Ganeshan had for PB, which we've read some quotes from his books. He also said that he always had the wish that PB would come back to Ramana Ashram and stay there, and PB never did. And at the end of his life, before he died, PB asked his secretary to send Ganeshan a message saying, "I apologize that I wasn't able to do what you asked, but
to answer his letters.
And to also answer your letters." PB didn't always have a chance to fulfill his correspondence. Let's just say that Ganeshan was also in PB's mind. So Ramana confirms PB's mission. And then PB also says about Ramana, "In the presence of this sage, one felt security and inward peace. The spiritual radiations which emanated from him were all penetrating. If therefore I burn literary incense before his bust, it is but a mere fraction of the tribute I ought to pay him." And he says, one could not forget that wonderful pregnant smile of his, with his hint of wisdom and peace, won from suffering and experience. If you study the life of Maharishi, he had a lot of suffering. When he was younger and went into these deep trances, his body was mistreated by animals and people. We said he lived in caves in the mountains. He really went through a lot of physical turmoil and trials to stabilize the consciousness that was coming into him. So PV continues, he was the most understanding man I have ever known. You could be sure always of some words from him that would smooth your way a little, and that word always verified what your deepest feelings told you already. So once again, Peavy's telling us what Plato told us. It's already inside of us. It's reminiscence. And Ramana says what you already know inside, and he reminds you of what you already know inside. Another comment is a lot of people think that someone like Maharishi is emotionless. And there's some really beautiful stories of incidents where something was told to Ramana and tears would come down his cheeks. So it's not that these people have no emotion, it's that they're not identified with their emotion, but they're human beings who can experience love and other emotions, tenderness, compassion, sadness for another person. So PB is really happy to be there. Now he's going to be there 2 years. He actually builds a cottage. He arranges for some of the sadhus at the ashram who are building the buildings there. They're just a little ways away on the side of a pond to build a cottage where he stays. He tells a lot of stories about the monkeys bothering him and the scorpions in his shoes at the end of the day. And remember, it's very remote at this point. It was very remote, and he can walk back and forth to the ashram every day.
And these buildings still are here.
It's still there.
Nearby the ashram. People visit.
So he's in heaven with Ramana.
But it seems that PB still are looking for something else.
Yes, PB's looking for something else. Because we remember about PB, he wants to understand everything. He wants an explanation. Remember when he was a teenager, he was depressed, he was going to commit suicide. He went to the library and he did research on what happens after you die. And he said, oh, I'm not going to die. I can't do this. So PB wants answers. And Ramana isn't the type of teacher to give detailed philosophical answers.
Wasn't the Dharma.
Wasn't his job.
Yeah. And seems that in this phase of his life, he's still looking for some more questions, like answer some questions, have more intellectual understanding, not only for him, but also for explain to people with the Occidental mind. He needs to go back to the England or the Western and explain to the people about the truth. Who am I only wasn't enough.
Right, and Ramana's always teaching was, who am I? Who's asking the question?
Yes, that was correct. Everybody that know Ramana was, who am I?